Hey everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with my June wrap-up. We are almost caught up, yay! And I read 6 books in the month of June, and it was a pretty good reading month, I would say. So let's get started. So first I read Marrying Winterbourne by Lisa Kleypas, which is the second book in her Ravenel series. I gave it 4.5 stars. I did like it more than Cold Hearted Rake, which was the first book. It reminded me a lot of the Hathaways, especially, what is it called? They're Tempted at Twilight. Didn't even see it, it just came to me. Which makes sense because they both feature heroes that are like entrepreneurs with shops and stuff, I guess. I don't know. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. There's what Lisa Kleypas does best, in my opinion, is dealing with socioeconomic differences and people feeling inferior, especially at this time in society when she's writing, is you have these people, typically men, who come from like a middle class or a lower class background and come into money, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, having a title is what's important, not having money, but money is needed for people with titles, and it's this whole weird, crazy environment, and I think she writes that very well and shows how that can really impact a human being. So I did really enjoy it. I'm really liking this series. Also, this is the third book, you guys. The prologue is out. She released it because she's a horrible person. First of all, well, that was probably first of all. Second of all, the cover is the most beautiful thing I've like ever seen in my life. But I'm a sucker for books with girls in pretty dresses on them. But the hero, oh my gosh, is freaking Evie and Sebastian's son. So the prologue is like all Evie and Sebastian from Devil in Winter and from the Wallflowers, and I love them. That is my favorite. I'm totally on the train of thinking that's the best one. I know not everybody thinks that, but I think most people do. Sebastian is one of the best written characters ever. I'm so excited for them to be like in my life again. That is one of my go-to reads when I need to pick me up, for sure. Then I reread Wait for You by Jennifer Armentrout, which I gave 4 stars again. I think it's a really solid book. I like Avery. I love Cam on my heart. I really do want to reread Trust in Me, which is the story from Cam's perspective. Life got away from me. It's a really great new adult book. I highly recommend it. It does deal with sexual assault though, so trigger warning. Then I read For Your Arms Only by Carolyn Linden, and I don't remember much about this at this point. I just remember giving it 2 stars and not really liking it. It's not going to stop me from reading other Carolyn Linden books though. This is the first book I've ever read by her. I do want to read other ones. I do plan on picking some up. Not immediately. I got this at like a used bookstore for like 50 cents, so I don't regret it in any way, but it was definitely a disappointing historical romance read. I literally remember nothing else. I read A Night to Surrender by Tessa Dare. This is technically a reread. I read these before I was on Goodreads, before I was on YouTube though, so it's been a long time and it kind of felt like a first read to me. I gave it 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. It definitely has that like enemies to lovers kind of story, which I tend to enjoy. I just thought it was a tad bit frustrating. There was things that just like dragged on longer than they had to, and the hero is injured, which Lord knows I'm a sucker for. But this is the first book in her Spindle Cove series, and Spindle Cove is like a small town contemporary but in historicals. And it's amazing. Like, I definitely think this could be like a very good like gateway drug to people from like contemporaries to historicals, especially if you like maybe like a Jill Shalvis or a Rachel Gibson. Small town where women go when they are sick or need like help, like they make mistakes, you know what I mean, and they can kind of just be themselves. And there's tons of sequel bait, but it's a really solid series. I have since read 3 of the books, sort of 3.5, or like reread them. and I definitely recommend it. And then I read because I've been trying to reread these in order, so I decided to read one of the novellas, which comes after A Night to Surrender, which I had never read, and that was Once Upon a Winter's Eve, which I gave 5 stars. I think it is one of the best novellas I've ever read in my life. I can't remember what the heroine's name is. I feel like it might have been Violet. I don't know. But she is one of the women at Spindle Cove, and one night they're at a Christmas ball, and this man comes tumbling in and falls at her feet, and he's speaking French, and like nobody knows what's going on, and it's like all kinds of craziness, but he will only talk to her. So like I said, it's one of the best novellas I've ever read, if not the best. So well done. It is. The characters are so well developed. I really enjoyed them. It's my favorite in the series for sure. If you've read the Spindle Cove series, or even if you haven't and you haven't read this novella, I highly suggest picking it up. So the last book I read in June was Paper Princess by Erin Watt, which is a pseudonym for Jen Frederick and Elle Kennedy, and Jen Frederick is a pseudonym for Jane Litt, which is a pseudonym. That's a lot of pseudonyms. Wow. From Dear Author. I've never read any books by her, but I have read Elle Kennedy, obviously, and people have been talking about this like crazy. It's a new adult book, or a new adult series, and I gave it 4 stars. It definitely reminded me a lot of Abby Glines, especially like the 2 Far books, about a girl being taken in by like a wealthy family kind of, and then there's all these boys, and then like one of them had like he's brooding and angry and everything. It was a pretty solid story. I had some issues with it, but it was enjoyable. I'm not too worried about the issues. The series is definitely instead of being like a companion series, it's one of those like running series. Again, reminds me of the 2 Far books by Abby Glines. The second book like just came out, or is coming out soon. I can't remember if it's coming out at the end of July or at the beginning of August. And I do plan on reading it. I think it's going to be a trilogy, like a 3-book series. I just don't think I'll pick it up necessarily right away. I'm kind of just trying to save money right now. It's nothing about the book, it's more about me. But it was enjoyable. I liked it. I didn't think it was the best thing ever in the world, but you know, it was good. So those are all of the books I read in June. June is also the month when I moved. I moved right at the end of the month, which did cut into my reading. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!